telling of a story, and then like the whole like revenge, they killed my parents thing. I think in some ways it's called like the Disney trope, right? Like every single Disney prince or princess or whatever, they emerge because they have dead parents. I think you can kind of get away from that trope a little bit. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
It's an easy sad story to use.
Exactly, right. It's an easy way to try to get people invested and get them to relate to the character. I think you find some other different compelling ways to do it. Hello and welcome to level 144 of the Thoughts and Players podcast, the gaming podcast with bold takes and no strings attached. I am Jeremy, here with my compadre, David.
What up?
What up?
Sorry,
How's it going?
it's a long day.
I know, right? I feel you there. It's been a long day. Long
Yeah,
day.
I've been going to work a little bit early, and then my son had a trunk or treat thing to go to.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
nice filled day of
Yeah,
things.
did he come away with a good stash? Good stash of stuff?
Yeah, he has just like your typical little bucket, and it
Yeah.
was full.
There you go. That's nice. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
quickly upon us. When
not
is it?
even Halloween yet.
I know, right? When is that? Thursday? Friday? When is Halloween? Something like
Friday.
that. Friday. Yeah. So yeah, quickly upon. Do you do the handing out of candies or
No, I've never.
yeah.
No, even before my son, I just didn't do anything. But now I just go out with him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're gonna hand out candies for the first time this
Yeah,
year. I have to get a mask.
it's very nice. It's dwindling
Yeah,
every year.
it is. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I'm gonna get a mask. I've said before, I'm gonna get a mask to put under my mask because little kids are carriers. They're
Mm-hmm.
carriers of all types of things. You got to
Mm-hmm.
protect yourself from these
Yep.
children. So, yeah, but that's the plan. So we're gonna go for the I don't know the Kit Kats and the Snickers and the Reese's and give them the good stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Well, cool,
Funny
ladies.
enough, hold on one
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
Funny enough, Halloween is the only time my porch light isn't on because I literally just leave my porch light on
Yeah.
all the time, constantly. And
Yeah.
Halloween is the only day it's not on. And
Okay.
I find that funny because I did forget to turn it off one time, and I
You get
had
those
knocking.
knocks.
I was like, "Oh, sorry guys, I forgot it was on."
Yeah.
And that was like I think the second year I was here.
Yeah.
I hate giving up. I hate I brought their hopes up
I know, right? You got to
and
do the
crushed it.
oh, hey, sorry guys, and they're looking at you like we don't understand. This is the rules of the universe. Like
It's
your light
exactly.
is on. Where's the
You,
candy? I don't understand. Do you not know the
you know
rules
the
of
rules,
life?
dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
I think I did. I think I had that. I did that mistake once too. Because I guess we haven't done it since I've been here, so I think I did that mistake once as well. But maybe this year's the year. We're gonna entertain it, see how it goes.
I like it.
Um, Ladies and gentlemen, chickens, ducks, and hens. Thank you and welcome into this level of the pod, level 144. Got a cool topic, a nice little discussion that we're going to have, gaming related, based off of some current stuff that's going on. We try to make it topical and relevant. So before we get to our main topic, though, we're going to start where we always start, and that is talking about the games that we are playing. Um, who wants to start this time? I know I've gone a couple times. I can go again if you want to
Yeah,
get me out the way. Okay.
sure.
I have been playing Ghost of Yote, like I said before in the last
Good,
level,
good.
and that's all I've been playing.
Good.
So, I think I've got a little bit over 36 hours in it now. Again,
Double.
when I went to how long to beat, they said that to beat the entire game would take 25 hours, and I'm like, "Oh, I will probably firmly be much more past that." So,
Yeah. That's
I have been trying to move ahead in with the story in haste, but I have also been doing some side missions. Like I think I'd said before that like the side missions in this game are like some of the best. And I recently went to what has been, I mean, I don't know, there's been so many really good side quests, but the one that I recently did, there might be like a spoiler in this, but I think that's fine. One of the, because it's not really a spoiler, but it is a spoiler.
hmm hmm
But one of the side missions, there's a character in the game called Ugetsu, and he's a storyteller. So he tells you about different tales that are around Ezo and stuff like that, and it's mostly around certain objects you can either get or unlock. So he tells you the story about, let's say, he tells you the story of a girl who went on a killing spree after, um, bandits killed her mother. And so she wore a kimono that eventually became stained permanently crimson red because of all the people she killed, right?
hmm
And so you can pursue getting the crimson kimono, which is like a type of armor. And so one of the stories in the game is about the storm blade. And so you know me, somebody's like, "There's a story about a storm blade." I'm like, "A storm blade? Oh, bet that that
I
that
gotta figure out
that's."
what this
I got to
is.
figure out what that is because this sword sounds mad as hell. And so I find Ugetsu, and the quest is kind of like I don't really know the true story of it. So once you find the thing and show me it, I'll be able to give you the best story interpretation of it. And you go about this mission, and you're like climbing up this mountain, and you find this kind of like really isolated shack and area, different things like that. And there's there's homages to the original Ghost of Tsushima and the character of Jin Sakai. So this side mission is a love letter to Jin Sakai of Ghost of Tsushima. You see his house, kind of the white flowers that surround it, which are an
hmm
homage to the white flowers in the first game. You see certain things that kind of indicate that there's another character in Ghost of Tsushima, Yuna, who he like teams with and kind of like a little bit kind of shows him the ways of the ghost, like I guess, right? And it's kind of an indication that perhaps they eventually ended up falling in love and having a family. Um, he's kind of his legacy is being the first shinobi because his whole dilemma in the first Ghost of Tsushima is that he's a samurai, and when he sneaks around in the shadows and kills people, is deemed to be dishonorable. So he has a moral conflict with that, and this art of
Got it.
stealth killing and different things like that is the birth of the shinobi. So he's
hmm
deemed the first shinobi. But yeah, you hear like his stories, some kind of some odes to him, and some certain descriptions in his sword, and like you can like grab his mask and different things like that, and then obviously you get his sword. You see like his emblem of his clan of Clan Sakai there. And it's just like I get done playing the mission. Eventually, you have to fight some nine tails they call them, which are basically assassin shinobis. Show up to get the
Dang.
sword because the sword is the sword of the first shinobi,
Right.
and you eventually have to fight this one shinobi for the sword. He like steals it from you, and you have to fight him for it. And he uses all of Jin Sakai's different stances from the first game. So you see
hmm
him use the water stance and the stone stance and different things like that. And it's all just a great homage to that character in that game. So and the tale of it's like obviously this takes place a couple of hundred years after Ghost of Tsushima. So Jin Sakai has long been dead. But
Right.
it's just a thing, like a nice little kind of like nod of the cap and sign off and love letter to that character. They did have part of that description that he fought to hold off the first and second Mongol invasion, and Ghost of Tsushima covers only the first Mongol invasion. So I wonder if there's going to be a
Mm.
Ghost of Tsushima 2, or if that's just part of the lore and we just keep on with other
Right.
characters of the Ghost franchise.
Right.
But yeah, that was an awesome, just an awesome side mission. It's a side mission. It's not part of the main story. but to have
Right.
that kind of thing you experience with that much detail and that much reverence for that character and how important it just shows Sucker Punch knows what they're doing. This development
It
studio has
sounds like
quickly
it.
become like one of my favorite development studios, and this franchise one of my favorite franchises. Ghost of Yote is at every caliber and in many aspects exceeds what Ghost of Tsushima does. um but yeah, outside of that, I've just been playing the main mission. It's great. The characters are great. The story's great. Atsu's a great protagonist. She's like easily relatable. And it's just an awesome game. So I'm making my way through it. Like I said, a little bit over 36 hours. I feel like I've probably got another 6 to 10 hours to go in it, maybe until I get to a resolution of maybe ending the story, like
Okay.
beating it. But
Right.
I'll probably still walk around and do some other stuff to try to knock some things off my list. I mean, I started doing that with Rise of the Ronin, and so I'm sure I'll do it with Ghost of Yote because it's even more engaging. But that's pretty much it. That's all I've been playing. Ghost of Yote. I've been staying consistent with it.
That's awesome. I appreciate how they did all that, and you could essentially play that entire game and never even see it,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's not like they had to do that. They could have done some cheap crap like, oh, this was the first samurai, whatever the name you said,
Hmm.
and that's all, oh, that's it. But no, they put a lot of work into it, and they gave
Yeah.
more lore that wasn't even in the first one. And that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's a great sign off to that character. You know.
Do, I agree. Does the game have like a percentage bar of like how much you have done, and like not just like story, but like the
Hmm.
game all
I'm
together?
I'm pretty sure it does. I mean, the PlayStation UI is not my favorite.
Got
And
it.
I know that it communicates progress, but it communicates in a kind of a weird way.
Okay.
So it does probably have that. I could probably look directly at the progress and see. I know it gives track of hours and stuff like that, but I also mostly track my hours just by the save file. Um,
Right.
so yeah, but it does do that, but yeah, I'm unsure because I feel like like there's bounties in the game. I've cleared all the bounties so far. I haven't gotten any new bounties, but I also don't know if I need to go to different areas to therefore unlock different bounties. Um,
Exactly. That's
and
what I was thinking.
yeah, there's a cartographer character in there where you go to him and you can buy maps from him and you can
Okay.
unlock areas of interest. They're usually like altars that you go to kind of like level up a certain skill, or they
Uh-huh.
can be like hot springs to increase your max health, and also just other areas of interest. So I don't know if I've gotten all of those maps yet. So I mean, that's a game that I could potentially 100%. Like I'm over 36 hours into it,
Yeah,
and
I
I
was
am
gonna
not
say
tired of it at all. And
that is awesome.
remember, like if you recall, like when I was at 32 hours, like I think around 30ish or maybe 28ish hours in the Final Fantasy 16, I
Hmm.
was like, we gotta start wrapping this up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like this
I
is,
do.
I get it, but we got to start wrapping this up. I'm not at that point at all with this game, so there's a good chance of it.
Good. Because like you're doing all these side missions and stuff. I don't want you to potentially miss another really good one like that one.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Guess we'll go to what I've been playing. I've been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals. They have a PvE mode right now for Halloween. It's like a zombie kind of thing,
Okay.
and there's a bunch of different difficulties, and I'm stuck on the very last one.
Yeah.
So it's out for another, I think, 10 days. So I
Hmm.
have a chance still, hopefully. I'm trying to get in one game a day to see if I can beat it because it takes about an hour at least.
Okay.
Like it's
Oh,
20
okay.
waves and there's bosses on some of them and
Yeah.
it's a drag. But it's a lot of fun, you know.
Yeah.
But mostly that, some Apex, not really much. And then what you didn't mention because it's not something doing on our own time, but we
Hmm.
both played a little bit of speedrunners,
We did. We did. We
and
did play some speedrunners.
that was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah. So that was more also a cohort, a group kind of game
Yeah,
that we all
exactly.
played together. Yeah. Um, s-
Because might as well tell everybody because we went on that huge rant about pizza and stuff, so we
we
ended
did.
up getting pie side together.
Yep, yep.
So it came
We
back
went out.
to
Yeah, we went out with our partners. We all got together and
yep.
we got some pie size, some beautiful Detroit Brussels harder, and I think you got the BLT, right?
I got the
Like
BLT one.
BLT,
Yeah.
which is always just high quality BLT from there. And then we had tried what was it called? The Devastator, which was
Something like that. It had like curry ketchup or something
like
on
curry
it, and
ketchup. It was basically like a cheeseburger with tater
yeah,
tots.
that's what you were saying.
Yeah, and we got that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like it was cool, but like
Right. It wasn't bad, but it's like
right, it
not
wasn't
something you would.
bad, but
You know what
yeah.
I could go for?
Hmm,
I get that. But yeah. So
yeah.
after that, came back to
Yeah,
uh
yeah, yeah.
my house, our
Mm-hmm.
house, and played that for what, maybe 2 hours or so. Played for
Two or
quite a while.
yeah, 2 or 3 hours, I think. We were just like just playing speed runners, like trying to figure out like my partner and I, we were like we spent like the first, half hour just learning the controls, right? And then
Right. Right.
the subsequent just like trying to understand the concept and the minutia of the game, the details, the things, how you really try to figure out how to win.
Hmm.
And so we were able to kind of figure that stuff out. It got to a point where we were like not completely dying within the first like 10 seconds or 5 seconds of
Right.
starting a run, right? And so yeah, that was like it was just super fun to play that game. And um yeah, like later on, like we got back, my partner's like, hey, you want to buy this game because I want to get good at it. I want to get better. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I'm like, yeah. So she'd been playing and practicing, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna practice too because I want to get my skill up. You know what I'm saying? So we were doing that, and then obviously it's just a great game to play with a
Yeah,
group of
it's
people, like
fun,
four
easy to
people.
pick up.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
So we're like, yeah, for sure, because obviously I'm gonna be doing, I'm having like a little birthday party and stuff. We're gonna have people over to play games again. That's a
Hmm.
great game to crack out and say
Yeah.
like, hey, let's
You can just
play
jump
this.
in
Let's
and
let's
out at
try
any
this.
time, and
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, speedrunners was another one of those.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I've been playing.
Okay. Okay. Um, awesome. Well, then I guess it's time to jump into our main topic. Kind of talk about
Sounds
some
good to
things.
me.
So this main topic is inspired by news that broke. We're getting a new-ish, uh, pre kind of, I think maybe Halo game.
New but not new.
New but not new. So it was announced that Halo Campaign Evolved is going to be released, I believe, possibly next year is the aim, 2026. Halo Campaign Evolved is the remake slash soft-ish reboot of the Halo franchise. So it's going to be a modern day remake reboot of the original Halo Combat Evolved, the game that I don't know, maybe outside of Doom is like the most in maybe like I don't know, Call of Duty Modern Warfare maybe, or like the most influential FPSs of like the past 20 years, 20, 25
Right.
years.
Right.
Um and so yeah, they decided, oh man, we can't do this new thing. Let's go back to the basics. I get it. I mean, look, Bethesda just did it with Oblivion remaster. Like, hey, we can't figure out this Starfield thing. Let's go back to Oblivion. So they're saying the same thing. We can't really figure out this new Halo stuff. Let's just go back to the old one. So the caveat is that they're doing a lot of story element changes. They're adding some additional origin or original missions to the to campaign evolved, and it's going to be a new, but familiar reboot remake of this game. And I think it's an interesting, if not somewhat a bit convoluted, reimagining of that game. And it's like, okay, well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, if you're remaking Combat Evolved, you're going to create a great game. That game is, I think, objectively, innately, and it is intrinsically a great game. And so if you're going to remake that, unless I mean, here's the thing: with current game development, they could find some way to F it up, but I think it'd be really hard to do that.
I
um
don't. They did do that with Modern Warfare.
yes, well, I don't know if I should have more faith in Halo Studios, but
Right. That's. I think so. I don't
yeah.
think they'll do at least not as
It's
bad.
their namesake. I would hope they would put more care into it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but I think you've got to be playing top tier level ops in order to mess this up. So I think they'll be all right. But that had us thinking about some other games that maybe we would like to have a similar treatment. We've talked about games we would want remade. If we could have games remade or brought back by different studios, which ones they would be. But this
Hmm.
particular treatment of, hey, have it be a remake slash soft reboot of something where it's mostly the same, but there's some critical story elements that you're changing to make it slightly different. That's a different treatment of things that I think we've kind of discussed before. So we have our list of
Yeah.
games. I was able to come up with eventually four. I don't know if they're great. I think some of them. I think one's a pretty decent idea, but we'll see about the other three. And I know you've got a couple as well, so
Yeah.
we can start to get into these to kind of like talk about what we're thinking. So, how do you want to do this? You want me to go ahead and go, like kind of just knock one of mine out first, really quick? Um,
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
okay. So I've got a quick one. And again, all of these aren't winners. Let me put that up front. I'm
Hey.
not all these that I'm saying. It's not. They aren't all Halo caliber. Okay, some of these are duds or stinkers or they're meh. And the first one I'm going to throw out was a mad one, but it was a big deal. David, do you remember the big launch title for the Xbox One that was going to show the graphical fidelity of the game console?
Killer Instinct?
That's a good guess, but no.
That's what came with mine. So that's the only reason I guessed that.
Yeah. So
What is it?
the big launch title for Xbox One was a game called Rise Son of Rome. I'm not sure if you remember this game. It's spelled Rise
R-I-Y-Z.
Rise Son of Rome. Why they
Okay,
called it that, I don't
yes.
really know 100%. It seems like they just did it just to do it, which is dumb. But they did it. So the game actually looked pretty great and the
Mhm.
combat was pretty okay, but it kind of floundered a little bit in being engaging and it floundered a little bit in the story. They tried to, tell this very cinematic story of revenge of a family. You control Marcius, a legionary, I guess is like the individual term, and his family's killed, and he's set on this path of like trying to find out who it is. And the emperor at the time is Nero, and everybody hates Nero, and it turns out to be Nero's the one that kind of set it up. And so you want to kill Nero, or you can choose to or choose not to kill Nero. I think is kind of the whole thing. And I always
Okay.
thought that game was kind of like, you could have had it. It always felt like that to me. Like you could have had it. This could
Hmm.
have been great, right? Because the presentation was awesome. Um, I think some opportunities were in the combat, but I also think some opportunities were in in some of the story too. So for me, if they were to do a remake reboot of that, which they never will, I mean that thing is freaking just kaputs, sleeping with the fish. But if they were to ever
Right.
do that, I think the thing that I would do is change the time. I think to add some nuance to it, maybe you don't make Nero the antagonist or the other possible thing because Nero's been kind of history has not been kind to him. Of course, he doesn't deserve him to be kind. He was a terrible person, but it feels like you could have gone with an emperor to be your antagonist, so to speak. That was maybe had a little bit more nuance. That maybe you could see some of the good with some of the bad, right? So I would have just liked maybe a different time in the Roman Empire. Also, maybe not in this later stage of like highly like built up Roman society that has all the
Right.
complexities and all the colonialism that happened with it. Maybe earlier on in Roman history when it's like trying to build that, it's trying to build towards republic, but it's still kind of a fledgling in some ways. I think that would have made it a bit more compelling of a story and then like the whole like revenge they killed my parents thing. I mean that's okay, but I would have liked to try to find a different kind of level or a way to go about it. Maybe I'm thinking about that because I played the Expeditions Rome game, and that was
Hmm.
kind of the same story where they like killed your father and you're trying to get revenge for your. Well, actually, they do end up just killing both your parents. So they kill your parents and you're trying to get revenge for them. That whole thing, and that game did it in a much more compelling way. Um,
Hmm.
I felt like going away from that kind of typical. I want to call it almost like the I think in some ways it's called like the Disney trope, right? Like every single Disney prince or princess or whatever, they emerge because they have dead parents. I think you can kind of get away from that trope a little bit. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
It's an easy sad story to use.
Exactly, right. It's an easy way to try to get people invested and get them to relate to the character. I think you find some other different compelling ways to do it. And you could eventually get there. So those are the couple of things I would say for that one. Rise, Son of Rome is one of my games for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a bad one. You're saying
They were so
it's
close.
good.
I'm telling you, they were so close in
Right.
many
Right.
respects.
It's that's what kind of makes it worse almost. Like it's like
Mhm.
you were right there
Mhm.
and you're not.
Yep.
Okay. Go with my first one. This one is Resident Evil 0. Now, it's
Okay.
not the most hated, obviously, because I can
Mhm.
talk about that one quite often. But there were some quirks about it not everyone was a fan of. That one is one of the few that doesn't have a like item storage kind of thing. Like if you didn't need
Oh,
something,
okay.
you had to just get rid of it. So it's just
Yeah, you
laying
just
on
had
the
to
ground
chuck
or
it.
wherever. So if you needed it, you have to go back to the spot and go get it. And you had to switch between the two people,
Mhm.
because there was Rebecca and there's Billy.
Mhm.
And like a lot of people liked the beginning of the game because they're like on this train, and that's not in any of the other ones. But
Yeah.
the other rest of the game just kind of felt kind of bland, and it felt like it wasn't uh, the same because it's going with this with Resident Evil, right?
Mhm.
Because Rebecca is the Bravo team, and you don't really see anyone else from the Bravo team. And I think that would have been cool too to get more of the Bravo because we see a lot of the Alpha, the Stars people. We see a lot of Jill Valentine and Barry and even Wesker.
Mhm.
But I can't remember the entire game by heart. But I'm pretty sure you see just like one or two other ones if I can remember correctly. I think she found one of them like after they were attacked or something.
Okay.
But like I think there could be more story and more it tying in at least better to the other Resident Evils because it
Yeah.
felt just very separate.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, I think if I'm recalling, it was kind of built after the fact of those like that original. I don't know if trilogy is the right word, but like after the numeral
Correct. It was
like
like a peak roll, a prequel.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So sometimes like if you're not doing your due diligence to make sure you're integrating all those elements, then it feels like a standalone. Like it feel like you said, like it feels like this was made after the fact, right? Where you could, find better ways to make it really feel like it's part of, and you're kind of just discovering that new bit of information that didn't get for the other ones. I think about like the prequel to The Last of Us, right? Like story wise, it doesn't really feel like it's standalone. It feels like you're
Hmm.
just discovering more about Ellie. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Before that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a great example. I forgot about that part. I did play that and it was really good and felt like it was tied to The Last of Us,
Hmm.
not just in the same universe.
Yeah. Right. It's like same universe, same characters, but for some reason they just feels disconnected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um so the next one I have is a game I had talked about not too long ago. I can't remember which level it was, but it was one I talked about not too long ago. And that is Jade Empire. Um,
Mm.
BioWare's kind of China inspired RPG from when they used to make good games. Um, for this, if they were to do a remake reboot of this, which I believe they absolutely should, hey, Jade Empire, like you can still call it Jade Empire, but it doesn't take place in Jade Empire. It takes place in China because that's what it's like. Don't create an approximation of China and then utilize Chinese Chinese characters, Chinese language, Chinese imagery, Chinese mythology, and say, but it's a fictionalized China. Hey, boy, my guy, just put it in China. Save us all that, because that's absurd. It's absurd idea to do.
It's absurd.
And then also with that, then therefore you can then base it somewhere in history, in the Chinese history, which is basically spans almost the totality of human history. Like, Chinese history is incredibly
I know,
long and
isn't that
vast.
crazy?
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
just
Like, yeah.
they have history.
Like, you think about like American history, and it's fractional to Chinese history.
Exactly.
And so it's
pages.
yeah, and so it's like, find some era of ancient China to put this story in that makes it compelling. Like, the idea of Jade Empire is that, like, you're a spirit monk, mortals, they live with, with like beasts and creatures, like it's a shared universe thing like that. And you could still kind of have that concept work in ancient China because it's inspired by ancient Chinese mythology. And in those mythologies, in a lot of cultural mythologies, they existed along with creatures and beasts and different things like that, right? So just base it in that. Maybe you get to a certain point where, okay, maybe you don't base it with the later, like, Han Dynasty and the Three Kingdoms period. Like, maybe you don't do it there, but you could maybe put it in, in the Jin Dynasty, or like something that's like earlier, like you're talking like 200 BC or something like that, right? Which is still, again, that's not too early in ancient Chinese history. You know what I'm saying? There's, I think the Jin Dynasty spans, or no, it's the Han Dynasty spans like almost, I think, 1,000 years. And there's all this history that happens before then. So, like, there's plenty of places you can put this kind of incident happening where there's a crisis built upon like mythical, magical, spirit type elements, and make it work. So that's what I would like to see there, because then you could also pull from historical characters and just ground it more and make it more compelling. You know what I'm saying? So, like,
yeah, for real.
I would like for them to go that route. You know what I'm saying? And then also, like, you don't have to make the main character, like the male main character, right? He doesn't have to be so close to like a Bruce Lee-ish type of knockoff look. Or like a Bruce Lee bro. More like a Bruce Lee bro is kind of what he looks like. It can be like a different look of the character, or different things like that. But yeah, I think that's a great one, because it is a great RPG. They explore some really interesting themes, great mechanics with like the melee hand-to-hand combat, and then the magical powers that you put on top of it, right? You have that the decision makings, the morality, the characters, and all that stuff that you get in a Bio RPG. But just put it in China. I mean, like, what are we doing here with like this fake Chinese? Like, let's put it in China, and it's making it a compelling area, you know what I'm saying? And then just find some ways to make the story more grounded, and I think it works better, especially for now. I think we want, even if we think about those types of games that have those types of stories, if they're fantastical or magical, the more we could kind of make it somewhat grounded, I think, the more believable and more interesting it is for us, because it at least doesn't feel too far-fetched, even if conceptually it is far-fetched. So
right.
Jade Empire is another one.
Good. Yeah, because we've talked about it before, like games that are historical, people like them more when it's more so correct. So
Yes.
like the Jade thing saying, "Oh, it's all of this about China, but it's not," kind of throws some of those people off.
Yeah. I mean,
so,
an example are even the games like Ghost of Yote is an example of that. Like, Ghost of Yote uses mystical elements. There's I talked about those tales, right, where you can like do these side quests to gain like certain pieces of armor. One is I think it's called The Story or the Tale of the Undying, and it's about a general that like persists and lives and haunts and kills until he's defeated. And then once you defeat this general or whatever, you get the armor of it's called the Armor of the Undying, which is just a badass name. And like,
agreed.
But that's a base, this is taking place 200 years after the Mongol invasion of Japan. Like, this is much more, it's still ancient, but much more recent. example of like how you can utilize mysticality and mythos, in more modern ways that feels grounded. It's more compelling because it's grounded. And and,
Yeah.
and so they could do the same thing with Jade Empire, and I think they should, because going the lighter tones and or avoiding darker tones like they did in like Dragon Age of Elgard, it shows that don't work. Like the average gamer age is 41. Like it ain't gonna work. Like pretending pixie dust and all this other, that ain't gonna work. Like all that stuff is fine, but just make it grounded, right?
Right.
That's what helps.
I agree. Let's see. My second one. It's gonna have to be the newest and not greatest Twisted Metal.
Yeah.
Now we know I've complained about quite a few times. You can only be a couple characters, and you don't control what it is. It's all like the same story,
Mm-hmm.
and you're these, different cars and stuff like that. Like I remember one of the what levels, you're like on the side of like a mountain trying to get away from Darkseid,
Yeah.
and that was cool and all, and you can keep that in the game, but make it make sense for the character you're going to be playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they should put more characters to play in and have their own stories and everything, because literally every other Twisted Metal that they made was the same, and that's where they got everything, and they left us with this,
Yeah.
so like the game itself, not terrible. I remember another level where there was a really really big um hammerhead,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that was fine. That was cool. It was annoying trying to freaking beat him, but what they had in there is fine. But they need to bring back what made the franchise do so well, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people see that Twisted Metal, and Black, right? That was one of the first ones for PS3,
Mm-hmm.
and that one everyone loves that one for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I guess can't say everybody, but like Twisted Metal Black, that's where quite a bit of lore is from the show,
Ah, yeah.
because they talk about Sweet Tooth talks about being in the asylum. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I think it's Black something Asylum, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where that is Twisted Metal Black.
Okay. Yeah.
So they had all this awesome story and stuff. They just spit out whatever this newest Twisted Metal is. So if they just reverted it a little bit, it would have been great. Would have been great.
Yeah. 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 I think that's one where I feel like we're going to get it. I feel like there's within the next few years, I would not be surprised if there's a remake, reboot, or some type of um Twisted Metal like IP video game version that like PlayStation decides like, hey, like our new IP ideas aren't working. We need to go back into our bag of tricks and pull out these original IPs to make sure that they work and that things are working. I mean, yeah, they knocked it out with Ghost of Yotei, but like
Mm-hmm.
not really a lot of bangers on their end outside of that for this
Right, and that's
PS5
just
generation.
one game from one studio,
Exactly. Yeah.
so it's rough.
Yeah. Um, well, then speaking of that, I think like I'll name this last one is my third because you mentioned like
Okay.
you just mentioned like PlayStation and studio. So another PlayStation studio, Insomniac Games, I think believe it was 2006, and I've mentioned this game before, came out with a game that was very well received, and that game was Resistance: Fall of Man. With the basic
Yeah.
story of
Mm-hmm.
it being that these aliens, these kind of insecty aliens, come to Earth, they infect and all these other things, and they take over Russia, and it's basically kind of like a World War II ish. It's supposed to take place in the 50s, so not quite World War II, but basically kind of Korean total, World War II, Korean War ish type era thing where you're
Right.
fighting them. And so I would love for them to revisit it because again, that first game was very well received. And I think a couple of story elements I would like for them to think about is one, I think it can be a little bit more scary. So you think about like the kind of insecty alien type things, the chimera or chimera, I think they might call them. I think of kind of something like a Last of Us,
Okay.
but like maybe not 100% because these aren't like they aren't supposed to be mindless, right? But like some type of thing that's more kind of like representative of like a insectoid type of alien, right?
Got it.
They kind of look like ogres to me. Or like I don't know, like do you remember do you like recall like the enemies from Resistance Fall of Man and the enemies in Gears of War look scarily similar to me
Oh, okay. See
if I
that one.
recall correctly.
I know Gears of War, so that helps
Yeah,
me a
yeah,
lot.
that was like more so
Okay.
like I'm like trying to think of like a good frame of reference for it. Um and I'm like, I feel like there's some elements to go there with like more interesting enemy designs for them there, but also
Hmm.
story wise, I think because you think of like insects and the different things they talk about, like taking over hosts, all these different things like that. You know, certain insects are venomous or
Yeah.
poisonous,
Yeah.
and when I think about poison, right? The advent of it being used in warfare was World War One. So I think that if they revisit this, they take it back 30 or 40 years to World War One, and that's kind of where around this actually happens, right? It's the first kind of big international conflict that happens. The it introduces the use of actual like, you know, poisonous gas and certain things like that as a military weapon. That could be a military weapon and tactic that was introduced by these aliens because that's a kind of technology that they brought with them. That's kind of innate to their build because of these things of like venom and poison that they were
Right.
used to. I think that can be like a more kind of interesting, compelling way of doing that. And then again, just kind of like the unknown, all these different sovereignties kind of being brought to the international stage. They could
Hmm.
take over, you know, them taking over a Russia in 1915 is way different than taking over a Russia in 1953, right? Just as far as how it's perceived and how we have our own awareness of like how we think of certain countries at certain times in history. So I think changing those and bringing it back with this like a nice little reboot remake thing of it, I think would be an awesome take for Resistance Fall of Man, because I do really think, you know, I think PlayStation is has been and still is looking for that banger of a shooter. You know,
Hmm.
for they've lucked out that Halo has fallen from the level that it once was, because for a while they just spent a bunch of money chasing it. They just wanted their own Halo. We want our own Halo. And I think they can kind of get something that is that, but at least much more uniquely different than Halo in the Resistance series. Now, that requires them to tell Insomniac to stop making Spider-Man games, and I don't know if they're going to do that. But
Right.
it's at least I think a compelling thing. PlayStation owns the IP, I assume. Either PlayStation or Insomniac owns the IP. I'm not sure
Right.
if PlayStation owned Insomniac games at the time like they do now, or if they just had a strong partnership. But they've been partnering for years. This is the same studio that did all the
Mm.
Infamous game series, and I think they've actually been talking about going back and doing a remake of Infamous. So that's really cool. That's why that's not on this list, because I think that's a great idea. But I also think the Resistance Fall of Man one is good. We need more compelling story driven first person shooters. And you know, I'm
Yeah.
not sure what Machine Gun Games has up next, or Machine Games has next, because they did Indiana Jones. Prior to that, they were doing all the Wolfenstein stuff. So I'm not sure what they're doing next, but we need something like that. And so I'd like to see Resistance Fall of Man make a comeback there. And I think they doing those type of things, taking it back a little bit more. I think that's great. I think that'd be
Right.
really good. Yeah.
I agree. You know, if what they were doing, like you said, like the poison and stuff, and that was more like World War One, it fits the timeline better. It makes everything more linear, I guess.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
yeah, I think about for instance, like we're talking about like Last of Us has like the spores, right? Like they can
Hmm.
emit these spores that infect you and different stuff like that. And I kind of think of it the same thing, like insects and kind of that world, right? Like you have like insects that emit poisons and spores, or there's certain like parasites that emit those types of things. So to me, what makes sense that an alien race that kind of, exhibits those types of characteristics would develop a way to weaponize it. And them showing how to weaponize it shows humans how to weaponize poison and venom, right?
Exactly. Right.
So it feels like it would fall in line. I mean, that was one of the biggest advents. It was a world changing thing in World War I that had the advent of this. But prior to that, people were lining up 20 yards away from each other and shooting each other point blank in the face. That's how they fought wars for forever. And then
Hmm.
all of a sudden, they start digging trenches and throwing over these freaking canisters that emit poisonous gases that choke you to death. And it's like, oh, like this is end days type stuff. So I think having that be the response or being the culmination of an alien invasion, showing us how to do those things, I think would make for a kind of a compelling tie-in with that story. So
Yeah.
that's why I would say, hey, take it back 30, 40 years. Go to World War I, do it there.
Wonderful idea.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, with that out the way, that means that we're near the end of the podcast. It means it's time for final thoughts, where we can give a final thought about anything that is related or unrelated to this podcast episode. So, who would like to give a final thought first?
I'll go.
Okay.
So it kind of goes with the topic, but it doesn't. I just want them to go, hey, look, we're going to give you guys the original Modern Warfare 2. Nothing has changed except the actual icon works for the 10th Prestige, right? Because there was the spinning icon for the
Yeah.
10th Prestige symbol wasn't unlockable. You just couldn't get to it. But hackers could unlock it on your account, so you knew if they hacked it, if you see it on their what it is, you know,
Oh, they're like your profile.
show yeah, it shows the profile and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I played that game for so long. I had so many of the titles and stuff with titles. There it is.
Okay. Yeah.
And I had a lot of the gold guns and stuff because supposedly it was either you had to get the gold AK or you had to get all the gold weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And people did both. Nothing, I just want that emblem.
Do you think, and this is the discussion to have, do you think with everything that's happened in the interim of when Modern Warfare 2 was released, do you think they do or think they should keep the airport scene? Do you think they keep that? Or should they keep that?
I I I think they should keep it, and this is my reasoning. A lot of people do not have at least in a deep sense of thinking about how other people see things and how it makes them like feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people also don't see what a lot of bad guys are doing before like the bad stuff happens, and like how they're thinking, and then how they are going into this. And like in
Mm-hmm.
that scene, you're just going up in this elevator, I believe, and you're just talking to these people, and then you just get out, and then you just, you quote unquote, you just have fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you people can't imagine doing that, and so you have the visuals of doing that to all these people and stuff, and it helps with the message. And to kind of put stuff together in 13 Reasons Why, right?
Mm-hmm.
They changed the ending of the first season because eventually people were just saying it was like too much, right? And it's been
Mm-hmm.
out for years now, so spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
But at the very end, Hannah, she's the one that started with the 13 reasons and stuff. She slits her wrists in the bathtub,
Mm-hmm.
and you watch her slit her wrist, and then you watch her just kind of like suffer until
Mm-hmm.
she dies.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like sometimes people just need to see where people are coming from,
Mm-hmm.
even if it is a terrible, terrible thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I can't recall at the time if that was an option, because I remember that being a huge deal when it came out. And I don't remember there, you correct me if I'm wrong, was there an option to actually skip that sequence
There
at the
was,
time?
I think it was an update because
Okay.
originally I don't think there was, but I think
Right.
within the first couple of months they were like, okay, we made it so you can just skip the scene. You're not gonna, not gonna be able to not unlock one of the achievements for beating the game
Mm-hmm.
campaign, stuff like that. So they made it so
Mm-hmm.
even if you did skip it, you're not gonna lose anything necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if it's kind of the thing of like, because I could see if a remake happened now that they would probably nix that scene entirely.
Mm,
And though I understand it, to me, you've already opened Pandora's box. Like if someone wants to engage in that in a kind of insidious way, they can just get Modern Warfare 2. Like you know what I'm saying? Like they can just go grab a Modern Warfare 2 for the 360, pop it into their 360 and just play that. So if you
right,
decided to remake it now 20 years later, they'd be like, well, we're not going to include it in this one. Well, but it's already been there and you've created this and society's been exposed to it for 25 years or 15 years or whatever it is.
right,
So it's like, unless you're saying it's for like, well, it's devoid for kids. And the first thing I would say is, well, regardless if this scene is in there or not, your kid probably shouldn't be playing Call of Duty. I mean, are you a crazy person? You know what I'm saying?
right.
But for you to be like, that's the thing that keeps my kid from playing this is this scene where they're where it's very clearly they're doing terrible things to quote unquote innocent people,
Hmm.
even though throughout the entirety of the game you have the potential to, and could possibly be based upon the politics and perspective, be doing terrible things to not bad people. So
Right.
I understand kind of like the elements of it, and like you were saying, like this was identified as an important thing for telling the story and getting the message across, and it could still have that value, right? So um I was just interested into as what you thought, where if they did bring it back, should they keep the scene or no? So yeah, I don't really know where to go on that. I could take it either way. I get either way. Like I just get it.
Hmm.
But yeah, but that is interesting. Just you're just saying like just make sure that your achievements and titles like actually function the way they're supposed to when someone's doing all this work to achieve them, and then it still doesn't work or activate the way it's supposed to.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
I forgot the other part. In multiplayer, after you what I can't remember what broke your accuracy in that game, but I think it was after you hit 200,000 bullets or kills or something, but eventually your accuracy goes into like the negatives. And it does come back. Like as soon as you hit it, it's like negative like 50 or something. I can't remember the exact number, but
Yeah.
I just kept playing anyways. I'm like, whatever. But that number kept going down. Like negative 40, negative 38.
Oh, I
So
got you.
I feel like it eventually would have turned back, but
Yeah.
I never got to that number.
Oh yeah, that way. Yeah, that I guess they didn't get those Y2K bugs out of whatever coding they were using to where
Yeah,
it wouldn't.
it's still being so early in like the multiplayer like verse like that. I don't
Yeah.
know if they expected so people to play that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Um.
That's mine.
Okay. My final thought is that this whole I can't wait for the next Ghost game.
Mhm.
I don't know what it's going to be. A lot of people are theorizing that, well, like I said, because Jin Sakai fought in the first and second Mongol invasion, that it might be a Ghost of Tsushima 2. I don't know if it's exactly going to be that. I don't think they'll go that direction. I think they'll just create another Ghost. Um, there is a character you have a I haven't finished the game, but you do end up discovering that you have a niece in the game named Kiku, and based upon how things end up, there's a possibility that she may end up being the next Ghost. I wouldn't be opposed to playing her in the next Ghost game, or if
Okay.
whatever they decide to do, I'm game for it. I just know that
Right.
Sucker Punch is freaking crushing it with these
I
Ghost
was gonna say
games.
they're doing what they're doing very well right now.
And this is how you build a legacy. Like, this is how you build a legacy of a studio. This is how you become a BioWare. This is how you become for maybe let's say like a Respawn, for instance, or something like that, or like a Remedy or something like that. Like, this is how you become a studio of high caliber, is that you put these incredible games out and you just see the level and quality and care that go into them. And you say, we're going to keep going higher and higher. We're going to reach for more and more every time we do it. And we're going to stay true to our creative vision, despite that people think that our stuff is, weirdly woke because we have a strong female protagonist in our story. I didn't know that was a thing until recently. So, like, you just stick with it, with the creative vision, and you just make
Mhm.
an awesome game. People that have other ulterior reasons for why they don't want to play a game are just missing out on a great experience, and they're robbing themselves of that. So,
Right.
yeah. But my final thought is, I can't wait for the next Ghost game. They took them 5 years from Tsushima to Yote, so that means in 2030 we can expect a Ghost of Louisiana. I don't know, whatever they call it.
Do
Uh,
you think you'll get a statue by 2030?
my Jin Sakai one is long gone. I got the controller for Yote, so I have some representation that I have some instance, some example of that, and I'll probably just try to find a different Jin Sakai statue if I can.
Mhm.
Out there to get it. Like, I've got my partner got me a Ghost of Tsushima shirt, and she got me like stickers and
Heck yeah,
different stuff
dude.
like that. And so yeah, and poster, and she got me a poster of it, and I have like she got me the vinyl soundtrack of it. So I have other things to
No
help.
way.
Yeah, yeah, and it sounds beautiful too. So I have these other things that show my love for Ghost of Tsushima, and I've got the controller for Ghost of Yote. So when they come out with, Ghost of Bourbon, Kentucky, whatever that is, and then I'll get the stuff to represent that. That'd be cool.
Heck yeah, dude.
I just got the worst feeling that they might do something like that, like try to make it more contemporary. Like, oh, let's put a ghost in like 19 or like even like late 1800s Japan, like in like imperial era stuff, like later modern era stuff. And I'd hate the idea of that, but who knows
Yeah.
what they'll do.
Well, if they did
Yeah,
the 200 years this time, then maybe they'll just do another 200 or maybe 100 or
yeah. I mean,
keep,
like,
that gives them more time for more games. I mean, of course they can always
yeah,
jump backwards,
yeah, they
but
gotta slow them jumps. Like, 200 years is crazy. 200 years. I mean, my boy Jin Sakai is dead, dead. He ain't even a little dead. He dead, dead.
right.
Like, dang, bruh. So maybe he's 50 years later or
Yeah.
six. Like slow it down a little. Like, don't get no, it's 200-300 year leaps are crazy. So yeah, that's my final thought on that though.
Okay.
It brings us to the end of level 144 of the Thoughts and Players podcast. If you liked what you heard, listen to us on your preferred podcast service. We're on all of them, of course. There's something going on with Spotify. Um, I think we're supposed to be boycotting Spotify, so maybe don't listen to us on Spotify, even though we upload through Spotify. So whatever, but just do you. Also, we are on all the socials, the Facebooks and the Twitters and the X, I guess. We don't really post on there. Instagram, TikTok, and then of course our YouTube, where we upload video versions of our podcast every week. If you want to support us, there's a couple ways you can do that. One, buy merch. got this nifty phone protector. And I tell you what, I dropped the crap out of this the other day, and this thing saved it. Because it was the kind of drop that's like, oh, I just
Like the
almost,
scary drop.
like I killed a child drop. And I'm like, oh. So it helps you check it out there. You can also check us out on the Patreon. We're going to be doing some new stuff over on our Patreon. We're revising it up here pretty soon to where we're going to consolidate and streamline some things as far as how tiers go. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But I think it'll be really good for everyone as far as what we're doing there. So we'll have that probably 100% done by the next episode. But yeah, and that's pretty much it. That's it for me. David, was there anything else you wanted to add?
Peace.
Alrighty, well, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next level.